Hi everyone. For the next hour, we'll talk about the latest in app development on Windows. Windows is an open platform. This means that all your code is welcome, whether you've started on Windows or started on a different platform. We believe this is better for developers, better for customers, better for hardware vendors, and really, it's just better for everyone. This always reminds me of one of the other joys of my life, coaching. I work with students who all have their own unique interests, skills, and priorities. And wherever I can, I try to help them develop their individual perspectives and strengths and form into a cohesive team. In the same way, I have the privilege of working with so many developers from different backgrounds, having different goals and different businesses, where we can come together as part of one awesome developer community. So today, we're going to talk about 4 areas of innovation. First, how our open platform makes it easy to bring your app to Windows, whether it's .NET, Web, Android, C++, Linux, or any number of cross-platform frameworks, so you can take advantage of the rich ecosystem of Windows. Second, how to design great app experiences that people will love. Third, how cloud virtualization helps you reach users in more flexible ways and at a lower cost to your company. And finally, how you'll soon be able to improve app engagement by building companion experiences that plug into the Windows shell surfaces like widgets, File Explorer, and Start menu, so users can easily launch into your app. So first up, let's hear from a product maker about their experience bringing their app to Windows.
Hi, I am Federico. We founded Algoriddim with the goal of making DJing accessible to everyone. Today, our app DJ has been downloaded by over 50 million users around the world. DJ has been a big hit on mobile, and we have rebuilt it from the ground up to shine on Windows. Windows is an important platform for DJs, and it can reach a huge audience. Plus, the combination of touch and desktop class devices provides an opportunity to build a truly unique user experience.
Hi, this is Frederick, CTO at Algoriddim. We have a sizable code base written primarily in C++ and Objective-C, which we wanted to use on Windows. And we also wanted to take advantage of some of the richer capabilities you get when using the native Windows runtime APIs directly. So we worked with the open source community to get a project called GNU Step working on Windows using Clang LLVM and Visual Studio. This enabled us to use our existing code in a modern Win32 app, while at the same time benefiting from faster build times during development and taking advantage of native Windows APIs for a deep system integration. We then packaged the app using MSIX so we can easily distribute it on the Microsoft Store. You can find the GNU Step project, as well as the toolchain we built, on GitHub, where our team works on it alongside other contributors. Today, we're also very excited to announce the next generation of our app, DJ Pro AI for Windows 10 and 11. This huge update uses Windows machine learning to power a revolutionary AI technology we call Neural Mix. Neural Mix allows you to deconstruct and mix music in real time so you can instantly isolate beats, instruments, and vocals of any song using AI.
We're very excited to bring all of these amazing creative tools to the platform. DJ Pro AI for Windows will be coming later this year, and we can't wait for you to try it out.
Objective-C, running natively on Windows, using GNU Step, directly calling Windows AI and audio capabilities. That's the power of an open platform, when you can bring the best expression of your vision to life for your customers using your technology of choice. I love how diverse this makes the Windows ecosystem. When I talk to developers, they all come from different backgrounds, and everyone wants to leverage their expertise and code investments to keep their costs low so they can focus on innovation. So we are continuing to optimize the end-to-end developer workflow across technologies. We're going to discuss a few of those developer workflows today. Let's start with the web, and I have Lindsay here to talk about the latest for web developers.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Kubasik, and I'll be sharing how you can use web technology to build great applications on Windows. Developers on Windows have been building great experiences powered by the web for decades. And the appeal of the web has always been its near ubiquitous reach. Today, we want to share more about what we're doing to make the web work better for you on Windows, so that you can build more powerful and capable experiences with the convenience of the web. We usually think of web content in the browser, but with web apps, you can really make your web content shine on Windows. With WebView2, Microsoft's new embedded web control, you can have the best of the web and access to the power of the full Windows platform. Or with progressive web apps, you can build a seamless desktop experience that feels at home on Windows using only modern web standards. Since being released just over a year ago, WebView2 has seen great momentum in our Windows developer community. We already have thousands of apps shipping with WebView2 on Windows. Embedding web content in apps isn't new, but WebView2 offers some unique benefits to our app ecosystem. One key benefit of WebView2 compared to other Chromium embedders is that we can leverage a shared evergreen runtime for all WebView2 apps on the system. This means that your app not only gets the newest web platform features, but also that you get key security fixes at the same time as the browser. The shared runtime also leads to performance improvements, such as lower disk footprint and overall lower memory usage. WebView2 is available across all versions of Windows and can be used in a growing list of frameworks. We currently offer a WebView2 control for WinForms, WPF, and WinUI 3, and we'll shortly be releasing a WinUI 2 control. This framework support also enables WebView2 to be used in MAUI and React Native for Windows. Beyond that, WebView2 supports being hosted in an HWind, so any Win32 app or framework can take advantage of the control. We're also starting to work on WebView2 for Mac, so you can look forward to our support matrix continuing to grow. Lastly, you get access to the full Edge DevTools experience, which includes differentiated new features, such as detached elements to help you better detect memory leaks in your web content. Microsoft and many of our partners are betting on WebView2. Let's hear from Cerner and learn about their experience in modernizing their app.
Seconds matter in a healthcare environment. We want to enable care by putting technology in the background and giving the caregiver the tools that they need to enable our caregivers to spend more time at the bedside and less time in the EHR.
We utilize WebView2 to embed right alongside native applications and workflows. Edge allowed for a very easy swap from Internet Explorer to the modern browser. As a developer, it makes it easier for me to create better workflows for end users.
Giving us the ability to deliver faster systems without a lot of risk and a lot of deployment cost.
Memory utilization was down 32%, CPU utilization was down 33%, and rendering time was down 85%.
It's very rare to see that kind of performance lift with one change to a system across the board. That, for me, was one of the best things that I have seen in a very long time.
WebView2 is a great way to bring web tech into a native app. But for some of you, it's important to be able to deploy an app that is based fully on web standards so that you can maximize interoperability across operating systems and stick with existing web developer workflows and tools. As the web continues to get more powerful and modern web standards evolve, the PWA platform is an increasingly viable option for full-featured desktop applications. Over the past year, we've continued to add new web standards that make PWAs work great on Windows and provide a more seamless and natural experience with the OS. As the PWA platform improves, we also see usage grow. We are now seeing billions of engagement minutes each month from Edge PWAs on Windows and have been doubling that usage year over year. Here, I have Adobe Creative Cloud Express, which is a new PWA that delivers a powerful desktop experience. I'm using Creative Cloud Express to create an inspirational poster for my team now that we're back in the office. There. Now this is perfect. Let's go ahead and download it. It's important for desktop apps to interact with the file system on the device. We just saw that I saved this file locally for easy access. And now I'm going to see it open directly in another PWA on my system. In this case, Simple Edit has registered to handle image files, and I've set this app as the default for certain file types. This allows my app to open automatically when the user clicks on a file. I have the source code for this app in VS Code, so let's take a look at how this works. The manifest of a PWA defines your app and all its capabilities. This includes customizing the look and feel when installed, and registering for more advanced functionality. Here, you can see the declaration that will register the app as a handler for these file types with the OS. Now, let's go back to my app. I think I saw a bug where some of my content isn't laying out correctly to account for the system-drawn min-max controls. One of my favorite new customizations for PWAs is the ability to display content in the title bar. So let's get this fixed. I'm going to start by opening up the Edge DevTools. We've recently introduced a new user interface for the Edge DevTools that replaces the main row of tabs with an activity bar, making it possible to pin, rearrange, and access your favorite tools more easily. With this new experience, we aim to simplify and streamline the DevTools to help you be more productive. All the same tools are here. You can see I have the console, Elements tab, and more, just like I always would. You can also see I've even matched the theme across VS Code and my DevTools, and they work great together. Now, let's get back to taking a look at this element. When I select it here, we can see this is my avatar element, and I see which file it's in. So let's take a look at that in VS Code. It looks like the size and position here have been hard-coded and don't leverage some new environment variables that enable elements to be dynamically laid out based on available space in the title bar. So let's go ahead and fix this. Now, if I refresh, we can see what the updated layout looks like. Perfect. It looks much better. I've been saying here that the web is a powerful platform and can be used to build great desktop apps, which means more than simple utilities like this Simple Edit app. So I have one more surprise here. You may not have noticed until now, but let's go back to the VS Code instance I was using earlier. This is actually the VS Code PWA, built off of vscode.dev. From this PWA, you can see I can open the exact same application in the Edge browser. This is a great example of a rich app experience powered by the web, taking advantage of new capabilities like file system access. With WebView2 and PWA, you have flexibility in how you bring web experiences to Windows, all backed by the same high-performance, modern, Chromium-based engine with great debugging tools. That's all I have for today, so back to Kevin.
Thanks, Lindsay. The next workflow I want to talk about is Linux. WSL, the Windows Subsystem for Linux, has become an integral tool for cloud and web developers, as well as for DevOps engineers. It's so much better when you can have a native Linux distro that matches your production environment running on your local Windows box. But we heard your feedback. that you wanted improvements to the installation and update process. So I'm excited to say that we've now decoupled WSL from the OS, so it can be delivered via the Microsoft Store the same way that the Linux distros are. Let's see how easy this is now. Here's the store page for this new WSL preview that's available today in Windows 11 Insider builds. This has only been out for a short while, and it's awesome to see that it's already got some great ratings. I'll just click Get. And there we go. Of course, normally I would have installed this from the command line, which works equally well. You now have faster access to new WSL features since you don't need to wait for Windows to update. If you already had the built-in version of WSL, this new decoupled version runs side by side, and you can use your existing distros with either. This version from the store has the latest Linux kernel and bundles WSL-G, so it can immediately run Linux Gooey apps alongside Windows apps with no additional work. Let's take a look. I can launch a Linux Gooey app, like my favorite editor, Emacs. I've got it pinned in my Start menu like any other app. It even shows which distro it's running on, in case I have multiple environments. It's a native Linux app, but is fully integrated into the Windows environment. It works with Alt-Tab and virtual desktops. It has clipboard integration. I get access to all my files. And on the Linux side, I can do everything from mounting native file systems to running GPU-accelerated binaries for AI and machine learning. It's really the best of both worlds. Since I have Emacs open, let's quickly add some code here for a sample website. I can then run an app like Playwright to quickly test my code locally using Microsoft Edge running as a Linux binary. And there we see the new title I just added. This gives me confidence that my local changes are good and will work just like I expect in production. Next up, let's talk about Android. We recently introduced a preview of the Amazon App Store for the US region in Windows 11, which lets you run Android apps directly on Windows with eligible Intel, AMD, and Qualcomm hardware. This experience is powered by a new tech called WSA, the Windows Subsystem for Android, which was built in connection with Amazon and Intel. This includes leveraging Intel Bridge technology to enable ARM apps to run on Intel and AMD chipsets to ensure apps can run on a broad range of devices. Let's see an example of this in action. Here I have the Audible app, which is available in the Amazon App Store. Running Android apps directly on Windows is great because I can stay in my flow and I don't have to switch back and forth to my phone. They're in my Start menu, I can pin them to the taskbar, just like any other app. I get the full power of a PC, plus more of the apps and games I love. This app has adaptable UI, so it lays out nicely at different sizes, which is perfect for a windowed app on my desktop. Here I have an Audible original, Impact Winter. Let's hit play.
It was a graduation trip. I was all set to gad about the countryside and, well, nothing like a comet impact to spoil a holiday.
Networking, audio, device access, everything works just like you'd expect. The app code doesn't specifically have to target Windows, it just works. Our immediate focus with WSA is to continue improving app compatibility so that more of your apps can run on Windows with no changes, and to expand the integration between Android apps and Windows. For example, over the last couple months, we've added GPU acceleration, we've enabled Android apps to launch Windows apps, and we've made a ton of improvements to optimize the Android experience on Windows for everything from anti-aliasing to scrolling. This month, we also just updated WSA to the latest Android open source project version 12.1. We improved local networking support, and we made resizing much smoother. In addition to running Android apps, WSA can make it easier to build Android apps too. Let me show you an example. Here I am using Android Studio to build a basic video chat app. I could also have used Visual Studio and .NET MAUI. As you can see, this is a standard native Android app. It uses Android layouts, UI controls, and everything else. With WSA, I don't have to worry about managing and updating emulators. I just have to make sure WSA is started, and I'm good to go. Personally, I just use the Amazon App Store to kickstart it. Android Studio can then connect to the Windows Subsystem for Android in the terminal here via ADB. This is the standard address and port for WSA. There we go. Now I can build and launch my app directly to WSA. It's very efficient. No other emulators or device setup required. One of the other things I love about this is how easy it is to test my app's adaptive layout. There are a lot of different device sizes and form factors in the Android ecosystem, and something I've always struggled with is feeling confident that my app's layout will adapt well across all those devices. I can launch multiple emulators for the common sizes, but it's hard to cover every case. So I'm going to deploy my app to WSA and then identify what screen sizes don't lay out well for my app. Since the window is resizable in WSA, I can very easily see how my app layout works at any size without switching between emulators. I find this just easier, faster, and simply more efficient. I have the pixel size here in the top corner to help me visualize it. This looks okay, but I think as soon as the app goes below 1200 pixels wide, I think I should probably put a chat at the bottom of the screen to give it a better user experience on smaller screens. I'm going to make that change, see how it looks. I'm just going to switch this block of code I already had ready for the demo. All it does is add a layout breakpoint at 1200 pixels to move the chat UI below the video. And we'll relaunch. Let's try resizing again. That looks much better. Now I'm confident that the user experience will be good on any device size. WSA also has a whole suite of developer settings and debugging info you can access through the WSA settings apps here. If there's anything else we can do to make it even easier to use WSA, please let us know. So we've talked about how you can bring web apps, Linux apps, and Android apps to Windows. But what about improving your native Windows apps? First off, I want to thank the millions of developers out there for making Windows such a rich, vibrant ecosystem and for leading this amazing developer community. Our mission is to help you build modern, engaging native experience as easy as possible for Windows 11, while still reaching users on older versions of Windows. When you build an app for Windows, you get access to so many great capabilities. For example, modern input like touch and haptic pen that really empower creators. Let's take a look at how one app has brought this to life. Here's a new updated UI that was just released for Top Hatch's Concept app. Concepts is an awesome tool that helps users think, plan, and create by sketching and sharing ideas. It works great across x64 and ARM, and they just added haptic pen support for Windows 11. The new haptic pen really helps drawing feel more natural, since you get tactile feedback from the pen as you draw, and different drawing tools and digital surfaces have different feedback. All right, let's feel the app in action. First, I'll pick a pen size. Then a color. I get a subtle vibration through the pen when I interact with the UI controls, so I can feel exactly when and where I've tapped. Now, I'm not an artist, so luckily the app has smarts that helps me, align my drawing. Let's highlight the window in this kitchen sink. Obviously, I love highlighting windows. There we go. Awesome UI and a great inking experience that lights up on Windows 11. So when you think about building modern user experiences, I often get asked about which UI framework to choose. My answer is always the same. It depends. And it's okay to use a combination of technologies. For example, that concept app we just saw uses a combination of WinUI for its navigation view and custom drawing for the creative surface. They have UI in both and use multiple technologies because that works best for their user experience. So here's my general approach, but again, it's not a set formula. To start off, if you already have a great website and just want to add some native capabilities to it, then you can use either a WebView or PWA, as Lindsay showed earlier. On the other hand, if you want the best Windows 11 experience, then I recommend you use WinUI. That's how we build the Windows Shell and Microsoft apps. With WinUI 3 and the Windows App SDK, this gives you the best experience on Windows 11 and Windows 10, and you can use either .NET or C++. Many developers are also looking for a way to target multiple platforms with a single UI framework that balances between using common code, like the web, versus getting native rendering like WinUI. In that case, I recommend using frameworks like .NET MAUI, Uno, or React Native, since they're all built on top of WinUI when running on Windows. Another thing I hear from developers is that creating a new app needs to be easier. So we've updated Template Studio in partnership with the developer community on GitHub to make it easy to start building a WinUI 3 app. Let's take a look. After installing the new Template Studio extension, I can open Visual Studio 2022, I'll create a new project. And I'll search for WinUI. I'll select a new template studio for WinUI with C# option. I now get a wizard where I can select from a few types of initial visual layouts. In my opinion, if you want a navigation pane for your app, then this is the best way to get it. I can also select the MVVM toolkit if I want. MVVM is a great design pattern that helps you decouple your UI and business logic and really helps with maintainability and extensibility over time for larger projects. I use MVVM for all my projects. I can also add some UI templates. And finally, I can choose some options for settings, packaging, and theming. We recommend MSIX by default for its ease of use and high reliability. And if you want settings, like most apps do, then this is a super easy way to get started. Now I click Create. And we're done. I get all the initial scaffolding I need with to-do comments in the code and a markdown README on what to do next. This makes it incredibly easy to get started with a new project. For me, I start with Template Studio for every app. I've also been asked about the best way to migrate a .NET native UWP app to a .NET 6 WinApp SDK app. So I'm happy to say we've improved the .NET Upgrade Assistant to help you move your code base from .NET Native to .NET 6, including migrating from WinUI 2 to WinUI 3. This is currently in a branch on GitHub. Let's see an example. This should be very familiar if you've used it in the past to migrate a WPF or WinForms app from .NET Framework to .NET 6. There's a command line tool. Let's run it against this .NET Native UWP project and see what happens. Most of the work is done automatically for me, updating the Visual Studio project structure and package references, updating the namespaces, and modernizing some of the source code. This takes a few minutes to run and shows you what it's doing every step of the way. In the interest of time, just for this demo, we'll speed through the process. Once it's done, I can open the new project in Visual Studio. I always just press F5 right away to compile, see what happens. A lot of the time, it'll just work. Like in this case, there we go. The app just works. But if you were using certain advanced functionality, then it may add some to-dos to the Visual Studio task list that you have to fix up first. I do have some informational to-dos in my task list. Let's click on one and see. Since WinUI 3 desktop apps don't have a built-in back button, the tool has helpfully added a custom control for me. I can choose to use it, or modify it, or even remove it if I want to. Now let's take a look at the Solution Explorer. We can see it's now updated to use the new Windows App SDK NuGet package, which includes WinUI 3. That means my old app is now on the latest version of .NET with the latest UI and access to the full Windows API set across Windows 10 and 11. We're actively working on updating the tool to automate as many steps as we can for you, and we'd love to hear from you about where you'd like us to focus next. So we've talked about how to build apps for the open platform of Windows. Next up, let's hear from our design experts, Christina and Simone, about what makes a great user experience on Windows.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm so excited to be here today to tell you about all the awesome improvements that Windows 11 and the Windows App SDK are bringing to your app experiences. Windows 11 continues the evolution of the Fluent design system and provides a more intuitive user experience paired with beautiful visuals that lets you accomplish whatever you want. Building apps that leverage WinUI makes your experiences feel modern and engaging through a redesigned set of controls that use softer, rounded geometry, micro interactions, and updated accessible colors. Integrating WinUI is easy to do, and delivering a fresh and delightful experience will uplift your app engagement and customer satisfaction. With Windows 11, over 50% of people update to the new OS because of the refreshed visuals. And we have heard from customers that the new design language is just flat out beautiful. Let me show you the details behind all of these visual updates. As part of our refreshed design language, we rounded window corners. This will happen for most of your apps without additional coding, regardless of your technology stack. Our research team found that softer corners and rounded geometry help Windows feel more approachable and friendly, making your app UI visually easier to scan, increasing efficiency and engagement. By default, we are rounding the corners of common controls shipping with WinUI, and we are updating all of our app experiences so that they can feel at home on Windows 11. With Windows 11, we are introducing a new color scheme, which celebrates your content and the desktop wallpaper beneath it. We know people love to customize their wallpaper and accent color, and we want your app experiences to look great, no matter your customer's personal preferences. Not only does the new color scheme allow for personal expression, but it elevates treatments that were previously isolated as separate modes so that customers can tune color nuances for their individual needs. Typography is the most pervasive element of our UI, and with Windows 11, we are shipping 2 new fonts. The first is a new system font called Segoe UI Variable. While the name is similar to our previous system font, we built the font from the ground up to leverage variable font technology, which gives you a smaller font package and a greater convenience. It is designed to complement our new design language and uses optical scaling to ensure text legibility at any size. The second one is Segoe Fluent Icons. We updated our system icons to use the same friendly geometry that you've seen in our controls. If you want to take full advantage of these new fonts, WinUI on Windows 11 provides built-in support automatically, but many of these components can be used on other platforms, such as the web, with some additional work. Now let me hand it off to Simone, who is going to show us what all of these updates look like in WinUI.
Thank you, Christina. Typography, iconography, and the rounded geometry all come to life in the WinUI Controls gallery. Here you can see the updated UI, Segoe Fluent Icons on the navigation view, and Segoe UI Variable built into the controls that we provide, as well as the other visual updates like color and rounded geometry in key controls like buttons and toggles. With Windows 11 and WinUI, we wanted to bring delight to the billions of people that use Windows every day. We added micro-interactions to key part of the experience, like the Start menu and selected WinUI controls. Animations are triggered on hover, press, or release, bringing the UI to life and giving customers an added layer of confidence by providing feedback as they interact with the interface. Implementing these animations is easy, thanks to Lottie support built into WinUI. It's easy to integrate our updated color palette and materials to your application using the Windows App SDK. These new visuals will make your app feel clean, modern, and add hierarchy to help your customers stay focused on their tasks. For example, Microsoft Store uses lighter color for content areas to help focus their customers' attention to what matters. We updated the color contrast of light and dark themes to be less straining on the eye while being contrast compliant, which helps customers who spend hours using your applications every day. And if you are using WinUI, your application will adopt the new system theme automatically. For those using other platforms, you will be able to manually participate with the system theme values through the Windows App SDK. What we showed you so far elevates Windows 11 to a new level of craft. But the star in our toolkit is a beautiful new material called mica. Mica lets the desktop background shine through the app frame without interfering with your brand colors. It helps communicate focus by getting brighter when the app is active and receding when it's not in focus. And the best part is that mica is very performant, so it can be used on long-lived surfaces like your app background without any concerns. As you have seen, many applications are already using mica, and we recommend that you try this as well, so that your experience can feel right at home on Windows 11. These are some of the great updates that Windows 11 and WinUI bring to developers out of the box. If you are developing an application with a custom look and feel, or if you want to learn more about what is covered in this section or get your hands on our design toolkit, you can visit ak.ms/Windows 11 Design for the Windows 11 Design System documentation.
Thanks, Christina and Simone. More and more, developers are asking how Microsoft can help them solve new challenges with security and hybrid work. So let's hear from Cam about how Azure Virtual Desktop, Windows 365, and app streaming can help you meet these challenges.
Thanks, Kevin. We've been really energized to see so many organizations take advantage of the Microsoft Cloud to enable secure hybrid work for their users. When customers use Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365, your apps are powered by Azure Computing, and they can be accessed from any device, anywhere. With Azure Virtual Desktop, we've seen enormous engagement since general availability in September 2019. Organizations in every industry vertical and all around the world rely on the service to support end users with secure remote work and hybrid work needs. In healthcare, we enabled virtual doctor visits. Government customers provided critical services to their communities while meeting strict security and compliance guidelines for their workforce. And in education, universities served thousands of students studying remotely. Here at Microsoft, we rely on Azure Virtual Desktop to support our own work. We've created tailored environments for engineering, remote internships, and to accelerate employee onboarding. Every new hire over the past 2 years was offered an option to use Azure Virtual Desktop on the day they started. And this was a huge help when global supply shortages made it hard to get a new laptop out to them before their start date. All up, Microsoft IT supports over 20,000 internal users on Azure Virtual Desktop in our commercial and sovereign environments. You can read more about how organizations are using Azure Virtual Desktop at this link. You'll want to make sure your customers are successful using your Windows apps in Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365. Here are some things you can do. First, make sure your app works really well in a remote desktop or as a remote app. Most Windows apps will just work. And you can validate this in the cloud using Windows Enterprise Multi-Session on Azure Virtual Desktop or with Windows Server RDS and Hyper-V. Second, make sure your customer support statements communicate support for Azure Virtual Desktop, and your support staff is set up to answer questions about deploying your Windows apps in their environments. And finally, take a look at remote app streaming for ISVs. It's a new capability in Azure Virtual Desktop. This is a great option for ISVs who have large Windows code bases and want to deliver their apps as a SaaS solution from the cloud without re-architecting the entire experience for the web. If you're already delivering your app using RDS in Azure or in another public cloud, there's a great opportunity to reduce your operating costs and reduce your complexity by moving to Azure Virtual Desktop. You can read more about this in our step-by-step deployment guide at aka.ms/avd remote app streaming. Now, before I wrap up, let's hear from Sage, who recently moved to using Azure Virtual Desktop to reduce their overhead and improve how they meet the needs of their customers.
Sage was founded in 1981. We are a market-leading business software company offering solutions both in the cloud and on-premise. Our BMS segment is to help small and medium-sized businesses move to the cloud with enterprise-scale features like security, scalability, and continuity. Our Sage 200 offering is our business management solution that we offer here in the UK and Ireland. We currently utilize Azure Virtual Desktop and Azure Lighthouse as a part of the solution for Sage Partner Cloud, which leverages our provisioning toolset called Sage Provisioning Portal. It's based on an existing offering we've had in market for over 8 years and has over 9,000 Azure sites and 36,000 customers currently on it. Instead of Sage owning the Azure tenant, the partners would now own the infrastructure and accessing it via Azure Virtual Desktop. We've got great partner engagement with this new offering, and the reason why partners are excited is that the power is in their hands. It enables them to give the customer what they need to meet their needs whilst being in the cloud and access via Azure Virtual Desktop.
Our Sage Provisioning Portal, we automated the process of deploying a standardized infrastructure for each of our customers. This helps partners to reduce the time to provision virtual resources from about 2 days or more to only 1 hour. Using the Azure Virtual Desktop, we can put more solution components into the same bucket and achieve more granular control over these different resources, providing us a higher level of security and integration. The main benefit is like having Azure Virtual Desktop as a service. So we can rely on Microsoft knowledge and experience to provide the underlying RDS connectivity, and we no longer need to maintain those tools, which is something that is amazing.
We've worked side by side with Microsoft to get this solution to market. We have an ongoing engagement with Microsoft, especially the AVD product team. From a business benefit to Sage, it means we can focus on our core offering, our software, and engage our partner channel in a much cleaner way, in that we don't get in the middle of having to deliver these elements as a service. For our customers, it's the access to the best of what Sage offers that has supported their business in the past, and combine that with Azure Virtual Desktop. It's an absolute recipe for success.
Thanks, Cam. Finally, let's talk about how Windows is helping developers improve app engagement through Windows Shell experiences where users can easily launch into your app. For example, when I'm working, sometimes I'll launch Excel from the Start menu and create a new spreadsheet. In that case, I'm starting from an app. Other times, I'll go find a specific file in File Explorer, or click a link in Outlook, or use taskbar jump lists. In that case, I'm starting from specific content. Or I'll get a notification to join in when a friend's online playing an Xbox game. In that case, I'm starting from a companion experience associated with an app. All of these are opportunities for your apps and services to better engage with your users, to help them be more productive, or just to have more fun. So I'm excited to talk about 2 new opportunities for you to increase your app engagement. First up, I'm excited to announce that starting later this year, you'll be able to develop widgets for your apps as a new companion experience. We first introduced widgets in Windows 11. They live in the widget board, providing a fresh, glanceable, and useful view into app content even when your app isn't running. For example, the Teams widget shows where your next meeting is, so you can quickly join in with a single click. We're also exploring other places where widgets could appear in Windows. When users have all of their important information across apps in a single glanceable view, it's easier for them to get the information they need and makes it easier for them to launch into your full app experience right from the widget. Widget UI is built on the existing Adaptive Cards platform, a popular and easy-to-use open-source UI platform that's also used by developers to integrate with Teams, Outlook, Viva, and more. You'll be able to start creating custom widgets later this year. We can't wait to see what you'll build. Second, I'd like to give you a preview of a new system designed to further evolve content experiences in Windows. Let's talk about what that means. There used to be a very strong link between a path to a file and a physical location on a local disk on your PC. When you click the file, an app launched. These files might appear in many places in Windows, like the Start menu, as well as in File Explorer and common file dialogues. Users live in these familiar and consistent places, which are a core part of the Windows OS user experience. We've evolved it over the years with OneDrive and SharePoint, which blur the line between files on disk and files in the cloud. Apps were able to continue to work without needing to know where exactly these files were located. However, more content is now getting natively created in the cloud and sometimes only exists as a cloud URL without a backing local file, unlike file-based solutions like OneDrive. So many developers have had to create their own content experiences, like custom open and save dialogues in their app, to help users find and organize their cloud content, which increases your cost of development and doesn't give your app that first-class feel on Windows. This is important because research shows that users launch content links as often as they launch apps. But if you had to build custom file UI that's only accessible from within your app, that means you can miss out on a large percentage of how users engage with content on Windows. So Windows is evolving how we deal with user-created app content to make things easier for developers and better for integration for users. We've been pioneering this with well-known app content types in Windows 11, like Office documents and PDFs, expanding the file-based experience in the OS to become more generic content-based experiences that work natively with cloud content. This is a good starting point because Office docs are often already in the cloud. They can be associated with a user identity and are then seamlessly available across Windows, Microsoft mobile apps, and the web. For example, you might notice in Windows 11 that your cloud documents show up prominently in the new recommended section of the Start menu alongside apps and local files. And again, the same thing for file dialogues and File Explorer. This carries across your devices, so it's easy to find your content even if you haven't opened it yet on a new device. All of these integrations with Windows reduce friction for users because they have a common and consistent way to re-engage with their content and be productive faster. And soon, together with Microsoft Graph, we're taking what we pioneered with that handful of content types and are building a system that will work with any custom content that your apps and users might create. All you need is a reference to your cloud content like an URL to be placed in the Microsoft Graph along with some metadata for our AI models. Then any content type for any app can start to plug into the high engagement UI surfaces in Windows where users look for content. Your content does not have to live in a Microsoft cloud, unless of course you choose to store it there. I'll emphasize again, your content doesn't have to live in our cloud unless you want it to. It's all enabled with a simple cloud service connection. Our service understands the content through metadata you send us, enabling Windows to recommend your app to users in the right context at the right time and launch your app when a user clicks on it. In addition, if your app is published in the Microsoft Store, or if you have a Teams extension, then we can offer to install it, making the user experience for your app even more seamless across devices. This system not only helps you achieve seamless availability of your content across Windows user interaction surfaces, but can also help reduce your development costs for cloud content. You no longer need to build custom UI to be a cloud-native app on Windows. So this was just an early preview of what we're thinking, and we'll have more to share in the coming months. If you'd like to learn more in the meantime, you can start by checking out Microsoft Graph. We've covered a lot of different topics and technologies today. The power and flexibility of the open platform of Windows, how to delight your customers with great user experiences, how Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365 help you address secure hybrid work, and finally, how you can improve app engagement through widgets and cloud content experiences. We also have a lot of other great sessions ranging from distributing your app with the Microsoft Store to hardware and DevTools to diving into different types of app development. So I hope you'll join us for all those too. Thank you.